Hey, welcome to the Rock Your Dream Body and Dream Life interview series. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Ryan Yokome. And just to tell you a little bit about Ryan before we begin, he's an internationally recognized expert in the field of personal transformation. He's the founder of Money and Miracles Breakthrough Coaching and the co-founder of the Soulful Money Masterclass. He guides people to awaken the unlimited courage that resides deep within themselves. With an innovative and unique coaching process, his clients are guided to live their passion by overcoming limitation and fears by releasing emotional stress. So welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Sheila. It's an honor.
It's so, like, I feel like our journey started around the same time in like personal transformation back in like 2008. And we've kind of kept in touch, all throughout. And it's been so great to keep in touch like with you as your journey has unfolded and to see you expand into this place where you're at, where you're so in tune with this stuff. And I wanted to include you on this interview series because I feel like you have such a great way of talking about these things, like connecting to that part of ourselves that's beyond, like, we're talking about breaking free from yo-yo dieting and self-sabotage and stuff like that. But your message is very spiritual and almost intuitive. So that's kind of what I wanted to dive into today.
Yeah, I'd love to. And thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here. It's funny. We've known each other for such a long time. I think we were talking 9-10 years, and just the level of growth that I've seen in you too. It's so cool. I mean, for both of us, we rock.
Yeah.
We're so awesome.
Well, and we both have really expanded into like, I think when we first met, I was living in Michigan. So, and you are living in this amazing dream home with this awesome view. And I know you guys are kind of doing some traveling as well. So It's so cool to just like see that and be able to witness it.
Absolutely. And I say that in the most humble way, of course, right? And I think, one of the things I was kind of pulled to discuss too, I'm sure this will come up some point during our conversation, is power. And, how we feel comfortable expressing that power in our self-expression and our voice, and maybe where we pull back, being afraid to step into our power.
Yes. Well, why don't we start there? So tell me about your journey to rocking your dream life by your terms, like what that definition is for you.
Yeah, to me, if you think of like success, I love helping people. So to me, it's like, it's the fulfillment of knowing like every night I go to sleep and that I made a difference in the world in somebody's life with my gifts.
Yeah.
And I somehow empowered someone, or I somehow helped someone. And I was able to use, like, you can call it your God-given gifts, your talents, to make a difference in someone else's life. And I'm having fun. If I'm having fun in that process, then to me, that's what success means to me. It used to be, if I could just arrive somewhere, like when I first started in entrepreneurship, I was, how old was I? 19. I was 19. I was just turning 20 when I started my first business in construction. And then I ran that and I got into network marketing and then had some success there. And then as of a couple of years ago, I started my first coaching business, which is the business I have now. And I love it. And so for me, like creating an amazing life and having, great nutrition and great diet and exercise is a huge part of that too, which I would love to explore with you. But to me, it's just like, it's like the enjoyment of life. To me, that's what I love to do. To me, that's success. When I'm like, in every moment, I can find like bliss and happiness and joy in what I'm creating in my life and helping others through that process.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what like most of your clients are struggling with and what some of the like first tips are that you give them to start really rocking their dream life.
Well, you have to first know where you are.
Yeah.
You have to first check in, like, where are you? And who are you is the big question too. And another part is like, well, who do you think you should be? Right. And I think a big part of like, when it comes to, if we look at like our body image or we look at our self-image, like the two biggest things I work on with clients are self-worth and receiving. Usually we have a very hard time. Like if you think you have a hard time receiving money, just ask yourself if you receive compliments well, because you have a hard time receiving compliments. I used to struggle with that huge. So with my clients, when I work with them, it's like, well, it's first, hey, let's check in and see like, where are you? Like, and where do you want to go? And what does that gap look like right now? And what you'll find is typically, and I used to do this a lot, and I still do this, I think you could relate. we have this tendency to like want to arrive. You know, it's like, well, I'm here, but I really want to get over here.
Yeah.
How do I get over there? Right. And there's all this like richness and juiciness happening here that we're missing out on because we're thinking life is so much better over here.
Yeah. Like when I get there, then I'll be happy, or then I'll feel worthy, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I lived in that paradigm for a long time. And for me, it was like, oh, I just need to make more money. I just need to get my business going. I need to go out and have a newer car, or have a newer house, or travel, all these external things.
Mm-hmm.
And then what changed for me, and this is really crazy, and this is what I support my clients in as well, is I was so uncomfortable with stopping. I was so uncomfortable with slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
I was like doing constantly. And the deal was, if I don't know if there's any overachievers watching this, but when I stopped, I felt when I stopped, I felt so guilty, like extreme. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to be doing something. Like, what should I do right now to move myself forward? And the paradigm that I lived in was like, what do I have to do to get ahead? What do I have to do to get ahead constantly? And not just financially or business wise, but also like I'd look in the mirror at my body and be like, shit, I need to work out more. I need to eat clean. I don't like the way I look. And so there's a lot of like, I was riddled with insecurity. Mm-hmm. And so that kept me kind of in that like treadmill, on that hamster wheel of like doing.
Yeah.
And then what changed for me is I moved to San Diego for 3 months and I did nothing. I did absolutely nothing. And it was so uncomfortable. But, you know, we go back to, I know a lot of the work you do is intuitive work. Something was telling me to just slow down and check in with myself. Mm-hmm. So I had to get really comfortable stopping. And that's where I started to create my coaching business, which is my passion. Mm-hmm. And so it started like when I first start working with clients, it's sort of like an assessment of being like, okay, so where are you? Like, let's check in with what's going on in your life right now. Before we get you to where you want to go, let's see what's going on here.
Yeah. Well, so many things that you said there, like I can relate to totally being that overachiever as well. And it still pops up at times too, for me, where it's like, ooh, it's time to slow down. That's uncomfortable. And then I have to really feel into like, why, or, you know, like it must be what I need the most right now is just to slow down when it feels like that's the thing where you're like, ooh, you know, I'm having some awareness around this being something that I feel like I don't deserve, that worthiness or whatever, then that's when you can dive into that. Mm-hmm. And I think too, when you said about slowing down in terms of like health, fitness, food, and things like that, the women that I work with, when it comes to leaning back and not being in that aggressive dieting mode or being so focused on, am I doing it right? Am I eating the right things? Am I doing the right workouts? For them to lean back and give themselves that permission to tune into their body and really find out, wait a minute, like what feels good is so uncomfortable as well. Mm-hmm. And so where do you take it from there? Like, what's the next step once you start to realize like, oh my God, I'm so go. I don't know how to slow down, or I don't know how to lean back when it comes to, you know, my obsession with achievement, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have, well, how do you expose, or how do you heal shame is you expose it. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you're bumping up against like shame or guilt, so shame is directed inwards. Like there's something wrong with me. Like I'm broken, or I need to be fixed, or I'm not good enough, or I'm unlovable. And then guilt is directed outwards. It's like, oh shit, I should have done this differently or that differently, or I should have got back to this person, or I didn't get back to this person, whatever. Yeah. I think Marianne Williamson said it best. She said, guilt is the ego's orgasm. And I couldn't agree more, because it's like, you really have nothing to be guilty about, because I mean, the paradox is you will never make mistakes in life, but you will always make mistakes in life. So it's just getting comfortable with both.
Yeah.
So how you heal it is you start to expose it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, this is the thing I have, and I need to start talking to someone about it, or expressing it, or releasing it. Because anytime we like suppress, then it just like creates conflict, right? Like if you look at your relationships, and if you ever hit that point, you know, when I hit that point, like my relationship with Chris, where we used to just be like conflict, like constantly against each other. Mm-hmm. And it was conflict because we would neglect each other's feelings and emotions. And anything that leads to conflict is done through neglecting. So we would just like avoid, and then it would just blow up. So the first place you have to do is actually go into that, because it's sort of like if you're having like an issue around your body image and how you feel about yourself, absolutely that's going to affect all areas of your life, because beliefs are not area specific. And you have to go into that and go, okay, great. So here is this feeling I have around the way I look, or my impulses to do things, or my habits. And then what's really driving that? Because any breakdown in the physical body starts as a breakdown in the emotional body.
Yes.
Right. So you have to
Oh,
explore
yeah.
where then the emotions. And I mean, who teaches us to talk about our emotions?
Well,
Nobody.
not in this masculine world that we live in, where it's like, you know, emotions are sort of not important, but achievement is. But yes, like it's so important. Communication, like you said, like communicating ourselves, I think, from a mindset of like I'm exploring, like from a place of self-discovery of what it would look like for me to allow this situation to heal itself, versus talking about things from a lot of the other, I think, more programmed ways of talking, where a lot of times we'll approach things by thinking we need to explain our story or talk about why, you know, we're a victim or things happen to us, or maybe to push against or sort of place blame on something outside of ourselves. But what you're talking about is communicating on a much deeper level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's there's a lot to be said. You know, when I was really miserable in life, and trust me, I have my moments day to day. Like, I am not perfect in any way, and I have my moments where I lose my shit and I get angry, I get frustrated, or I'm sad, or I'm grieving, or I feel like, you know, I'm lying on the floor because I'm having like a mental breakdown. And then I have total moments of joy and happiness and bliss and everything, the whole like spectrum of human emotions. But, you know, for me, it's like, okay, great. It's like, let's just be with that.
Mm-hmm.
And let's accept that. Right. And let's, you know, like I said, whatever you resist persists.
And not suppress. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just sit with that, and let's just see what's coming up in this moment. It's sort of like, if you're trying to create your life in a different way than it is right now, you'll just keep getting hooked back into the way it is until you go into what's right here in front of you. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's something for you to learn. There's something for you to learn there, and you heal it, then you move forward.
And do you find that once you start opening up this, it's like, I don't know how else to describe it besides like Pandora's box, in the sense that like once you start getting in tune with your emotions, then you get really sensitive to not feeling good, and which is actually a really good thing, because that just means that, again, you're that much more aware, so that when you start not feeling good and you start having those negative emotions, you can shift it, and you can use the tools that you have to refocus your attention in a more positive and empowering way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a choice.
And that's where I think a lot of times, once we're on this personal development journey, we think, you know, and I know especially a lot of my clients, they think, oh my God, you know, this particular thing happened and I'm having a meltdown, or they think like they're taking steps backwards. But really what that is you're just that much more in tune, that you're that much more sensitive to what's happening inside. And that's where you have more power than you ever have had before.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. That's not giving away your power in any way. I mean, that's self-expression. That's a beautiful way to release. Like, you have to have that release.
Yeah.
And then in that space too, it's, you're really honoring yourself. I mean, you know, wonderful thing, you know, I mentioned going to San Diego, is I had to slow down. I had to stop. It's notice what comes up for you when you stop.
Yeah.
Because it's a very healthy way to release trauma. If there's some form of addiction where you are impulsive with your thoughts or your actions or your food or any form of addiction, it's like you have to stop and you have to check in with what's going on with you. And for some people, that's very uncomfortable, like it was for me.
Yeah.
You know, and you mentioned the masculine energy. That slowing down and checking in is all feminine. All feminine. And so this is a huge thing. So I hope everyone hears me on this. Your ability to express your femininity, and it's not gender related. So 80% of women are feminine, 80% of men are masculine in the world. But that energy we have both inside of us. We both have masculine, we both have feminine. And for women, because I work with a lot of female clients, your ability to express your feminine, which is your expression, your flow, your creativity, your spontaneity, your love, your connection, your ability to express that in your life, will be determined by how masculine the men are around you in controlling your feminine. So if you...
So wait, say that again.
Yeah. So your ability to express that part of yourself will be determined by how controlling the masculine men are around you.
Interesting. Okay.
So that goes for, could be your husband is that way. And it could go further that either your father was that way or your mother was more masculine in that sense. And you basically married into a similar type of energy, which is going to feel like, you'll know it because you'll feel suppressed, or you'll feel like you can't speak your voice, or you can't not being heard, or you're not important, or maybe you have a really exciting thing you want to share to your partner and they just sort of like shoot it down and you don't feel honored. I had to do so much work. I know this because I used to be that guy.
That would shoot it down?
Oh, yeah, with my partner, Chris, because she's so feminine and I was so masculine. And so we would have conflict, and then she didn't feel she could express. And so we started working with each other. And now she paints, she's killing it in business. She's like rocking, and, you know, she connects and does meditation and journaling and all these wonderful things, and like total self-expression. And it's because I had to learn as her partner to honor her and honor her femininity and not suppress it with my like overbearing masculine.
Interesting. Yeah. So you were maybe trying to get her to be more masculine? Is that what you're saying? Or you're saying, okay.
Well, to the masculine, vulnerability is death because it's weakness. And so very masculine men, like you mentioned, it's like we as men, it's very uncomfortable us to show our feelings or you know, be weak in that sense.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to be vulnerable and strong, and go into that space. And in that space, I learned to honor Chris and really support her and really put her up on a pedestal and be like, hey, honey, you're amazing. You're doing incredible. And really honor her, not just when she was doing incredible, but then also when she was feeling down. And really listening to her and honoring her emotions.
Yes, that's big. And that's where I think a lot of this comes from, is this, I think maybe it's not just like, you know, again, it's not pointing fingers at men or saying like, well, our husbands or our spouses don't support us. But I think just in society, we sort of downplay emotions and downplay feelings and put attention on achievement. And so I think that a lot of women feel guilty for their emotions or feel guilty for needing time for self-care. And that's why it gets put on the back burner, you know, and that's why like almost like people pleasing becomes that thing that we do because we get that validation from it. And in one of my other interviews, we were talking about the difference between people pleasing and nurturing, because I think we sort of become programmed to people please, but nurturing comes from this much different energy. It's like that generosity, that space where you are completely in your power as a woman, and you're shining that love onto the people around you, not because you need anything from them, but because it just feels good.
I love that. And that's power. Yes.
Yeah. So go ahead. What were we going to say?
Well, I was going to say, I think you nailed it, that it's not, you know, blame or pointing fingers. And the other thing too, is you can't change anyone. So Chris wasn't able to change me directly. But how she did impact me and changing me is by just what you said, her standing in her power. And by her not being suppressed and her starting to voice herself. And what I found, at least from a male perspective, is I almost became curious with her. I'm like, whoa, she's totally stepping into her power instead of resisting and pushing away.
Yeah.
And then it almost was like she kind of invited me to want to explore that with her. And instead of having us be in conflict, we started to work together. And that sort of opened me up to like being more connected to my feminine energy and receiving and self-care and slowing down, which is like huge, huge, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, it improves your relationship. And then because the deal is, if you're, you know, watching this video and you have a really hard time, you feel like you're not where you want to be, or maybe you haven't created the results that you wanted in your life yet. A big part of this is learning how to feel comfortable with being self-expressed, and finding your voice and finding your power and being able to stand in that. And like you just said, and not need anything from anyone else. And until you kind of like do the work over here, which is what we talked about earlier, you can't move into the space of creation over here.
Yeah.
because you'll keep getting hooked back into here. So you kind of got to like do the healing work, and then it frees you up to create your life as you want it, and your body and everything over here.
So basically what you're saying is, so like addiction is when we're really focused on sort of forcing a result or controlling something. And so in order to get to that place where we are in that receiving mode and we are in our power, we want to peel back the layers on really trying to control and moving into that more receiving mode. It's like that forceful energy versus that just lean back, receive. So like, what are some of your tips that you work with your female clients on in doing that? So like awareness is a big part of it, but then, you know, it's like we always, again, this is kind of like bordering that line between like, okay, so give me some tangible steps. Like, I know that's what people want to, you know, when they're watching these videos that they can take and then be like, here's what I can do today to start making change.
Yeah, this is so good. So you have to balance both energies. Okay. So your masculine, your feminine. Your masculine makes money.
Yeah.
That is like the linear, the focus, the drive, goal orientated, very structured. You need that part of yourself. So it's not bad. And that's what's going to get you to move your feet. But you also need the feminine, because the feminine energy receives. And that's where you'll actually start receiving abundance. You'll receive money. You'll receive sort of the reap the rewards from all the hard work you're putting in. What you'll see sometimes is you'll see men or women for that matter work really, 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 really hard, but they're never getting ahead.
Yeah.
They feel like it's just always trying to get ahead, always trying to get ahead. And what you'll find is even people who do well and have money, they're still trying to get ahead. Still like, I need to get further. So the receiving part is moving into understanding that beliefs are not area specific. So what you have to do is you have to start receiving and acknowledging yourself. That's the first piece. And what you'll find is typically what I find working with clients who are trying to arrive somewhere, they have an extremely hard time with receiving praise, with receiving their brilliance, receiving their magnificence, and receiving how fucking well they're doing right now today.
Yeah.
And if you start receiving that, it's like everything starts opening up. You'll start seeing flow come into your life because there's a circle. And I talk about this in my money flow course. So there's a circle. So you have to learn to give, which I would go on a limb and say, everyone watching this video knows how to give. You're probably very good at giving, and you're probably very poor at receiving. So that's how you complete the circle for money and abundance, is you start to give, and then you start to be really comfortable with receiving. So you would start today, and take a look at your own life and where you can start acknowledging yourself more, which is a choice.
Yeah. And you can apply that to making money. You can apply that to getting results with your physical body. You can apply that with relationships. So like, say, for example, in relationships, when you talk about this idea of giving, I think a lot of times women, like there's a book that I just recently read called The Queen's Code. And I feel like that is a great book. And I've been talking about it in a lot of these interviews for understanding the difference between how men and women think and how to support each other and like really being in our power. And I think a lot of times we give, but we sort of give with that expectation of what we're going to get. So how does that work into this conversation of receiving? Because it's like, if you're giving from this mindset of like, well, what am I going to get? It's like you want to receive, but it's not that open receiving. It's the like, you know, what's my benefit kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that never works.
No. It repels the thing in which you want to attract.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're making it about yourself. If I could offer one biggest tip, it would be your business is not about you. It's not about you. You really got to get over yourself. You got to move into the space of serving. So the giving piece is really learning to give from your heart. And the only way that you can give from your heart is the head has to feel safe. And you drop from your head to your heart through your emotions. And this is why you have to get really good at honoring your emotions and listening to them and receiving them and being with them and being open to like really connecting with that person that you want to help in life and really being in a space of vulnerability and love for them. And so it's sort of like removing the agenda that your head has, right? The agenda of like, oh, what am I going to get out of this? You know, how can I convince or manipulate this person to do something for me? moving out of that space and going, oh, well, how can I connect like you right now, Sheila? How can I connect with you and give back to you in a space that will really support everybody who's watching this video and on this interview series, and not be attached to getting.
Yeah.
But when something comes back in return, I can receive it. I can graciously receive it. And if you wanted like an action step, that is the mantra that I used when I first started learning to receive, is I can receive this. Which is practice that. I can receive this. I like this moment with you. I can receive this. I can receive this.
Yeah. Elizabeth D'Alto, she's another interview guest. Hers is, I deserve this. Like if she feels like she's kind of hitting that upper limit, she lays down on the ground and she's like, I deserve this. Yeah. And I think that's the same thing. Like, so, you know, just applying this, like I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs on the call, but then we have some corporate women, we have some moms, you know, that are just trying to get by. And I think if you apply the same thing that you're talking about related to business to relationships, you know, it's like when you give from that mindset of really genuinely wanting to nurture someone and not really having that expectation of what they will give to you, you will receive these things on a much greater level than what you ever could have expected from that mindset of, what am I going to get? Or for example, with your body, like if you're like, well, I'm going to eat this salad, but I want to weigh this much tomorrow because I ate that salad. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. But, you know, like when you remove it and just say, I want to nourish my body towards my goals and I'm not attached to the specific number, then the results come.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So it's just choice. Like it's constantly choosing, you know, choices that serve the highest version of you.
Yeah.
Highest version of you. And if you make a choice that serves the lowest version of you, that's okay too.
Yeah.
But it's a moment to moment choice, because we create three ways, like we're 3-part beings. So you talk about body, mind, and soul. Everyone knows that, right? So yeah, the body's a part of it, but then also where's your mind at? And then what does your soul want? Because oftentimes they all want different things. So you have to get them in alignment. So then if your mind is off, like if you're looking at your body and you're basing your feelings off of how you look or the choices you're making, well, where's your mind? And when you look at the mind, it's thoughts, words, and actions. So what are you thinking and what are you saying? And thoughts, words, and actions leads to feeling, leads to experience. So you really have to monitor moment to moment the choices that you're making, not just physically, but intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, all of the choices that are happening in your life from a moment to moment basis.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned in our call before this was that one of the ways that women, when you ask them, like, what would be one thing that would help you to really feel like you're taking care of yourself, that would be to go get a haircut. Why do you?
I just got a haircut too.
Why do you think that that's so important? Like, why is a haircut?
Oh my gosh, it's so therapeutic. Right? I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so funny. I love all my clients I work with, and it's like, it's so enriching, right? When you hear back from a client who took an action that was very empowering to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I was telling you, it's with the women I work with, when they get a haircut or they get a manicure or pedicure, it's like heaven. It's like, especially women who have children and they get that time for themselves. Sometimes that's a bit of a challenge, like that selfish act to be a mother of just giving so much.
Yeah.
When they get that time for them, it's huge. It's such a breakthrough.
And those are the ways I think that we can build our confidence too. Like while, like you were talking about, like loving yourself right now, right here, right now, doing things like that really make you feel beautiful. I mean, I know you may not connect to this the same way, but your clients and like the women that are watching this, it's like doing those special things for yourself makes you feel that much more connected to yourself and feeling like your outsides match your insides.
Yeah. It's, you have to find self-love somehow. And if you do it internally, like if you do the inner work, you can do it there. And sometimes we have to find it externally first. Yeah. So if you find you feel more love for yourself by getting your haircut, go get your haircut. Like go book the appointment and just do it, because you always feel better after.
And give yourself that permission to invest in yourself that way. And that's actually the last piece that I wanted to make sure that we covered today was financial abundance, because I think that's an area where a lot of times we limit ourselves and we think, well, no, this is as far as it's possible for me. But what you teach is that it's really limitless. Like there's so much abundance in this world. And so I'd love to hear some of your tips on how to receive
Yeah.
more financial abundance.
Oh my gosh. This is one of the biggest beliefs in the world is there's like not enough of anything.
Yeah.
Right? There's like not enough money. There's not enough time. There's not enough resources. You hear it all the time with people. And it's a belief. It's literally just a belief. And then if you've believed that, then that will be created into your reality. So what do you do with that is you have to choose to think a different way. It's simply just a choice. Like your whole life and my whole life is created by our choices that we make. So if you're coming from a space of lack of, and where I used to live is I have to get ahead, or there's not enough, or you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you're trying to solve your next problem, for God's sakes, give up control. Okay, so that's the first thing. You've got to give up control, because when you give up control, you start to see actually how the universe operates, which is fully a space of abundance.
Yeah.
And then you start tapping into that. So, you know, this all sounds very, very complex because I know we're like all over the place, which I love.
We are kind of
all the feminine
but I
energy.
feel like it's all connected, really.
But, you know, it's like, if you want to move into a space of receiving, which is receiving money, you have to give up control. And this is one of the hardest thing that I've learned to do, and I still learn to do. And the control is going to be how you think your problems should be solved. Because we all think we know how to solve them, but there's such an easier path. And I would guarantee you that you're taking a very hard path right now. Those of you who are watching, you're taking a very hard path, and your life could be much easier in a way that you can make more money, you can have more happiness, you can have more time freedom, and you can do it in a way that you have less stress. And a lot of that is learning to give up control and trust the process, which is another one of my affirmations, is trust the process. Like, I trust my process so much. And so it's just practicing this moment to moment basis. So it's sort of like being okay where you're at, and you might resist that at first and going into it, and then going, okay, there's an easier way for me to change my life, and being open to receive where that's going to come from.
So what would be an example of what that would look like? Like, either do you have an example from your life or an example from a client's life? Like, when someone's like, okay, I understand the concept, but I don't know how to plug that into like real life, you know, what would you say?
Yeah. Stop and question what you're thinking, and then move into what you're feeling. Right. So, I mean, that's such a great question, and such an analytical masculine question too.
Yes.
Like, well, how do I solve this? Right? How do I approach this? Well, you just stop, and it's like, okay, what am I feeling right now? And then check in with that, and maybe you want to journal it. Like, there's an action step. A lot of my clients do a lot of journaling. A lot of my clients will connect to nature. A lot of my clients will get on a call and it will just be like banging around with emotions, because I believe that's healing. And that release is so powerful. I mean, I'm sure you do it with your clients as well. And it just, you have to think of it this way. All of this stuff that you're carrying around all day, like all of this doubt or worry or insecurity or fear or what other people think of you. Like, who gives a shit what other people think of you? All of this stuff that you're carrying around all day, how much is that impacting your life? By carrying that weight, that energy around all day. And what would your life be like if you freed it up? Right? If you started to release parts of it, and like, where could you go and what could you create? Oh my gosh. Amazing things. Your dream life, your dream body, everything. So it's literally like the first step I always work with clients is like, okay, let's stop, let's check in. And where are your emotions? What are you feeling? What's going on in your life?
So that looks like, so say, you know, it's like you're crazy running around with your schedule, or, you know, like I've had some clients where they're trying to manage so much between kids and house and career, and having whatever is going on that day happen, but then stopping and saying, I can find my power even in these moments of chaos. And I can use this as an opportunity to start deciding consciously about what I want my life to look like, and where I need to plug in those things that will help it to feel more the way that I want it to feel on a daily basis.
Yeah. Which is all choice. Yeah. You have to understand, like, for those of you watching, you've created your own life. you're not at effect to life. Like life isn't happening to you. That's what most people who are victim or blame people, they think, oh, life is happening to me. No, you are creating everything. So you have a choice to create it however you want today moving forward.
Yeah.
One thing that just hit me, which is really cool. For those of you watching this, you're taking some time out to watch or listen to this interview. So honor that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a step you can honor. You're investing into yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what you said about like you create your own reality, you really do. And that's like the premise of most people. They find their way to personal development, like law of attraction, through The Secret or someone related to The Secret, and the book, the movie. And I think that's the premise of that. And it's hard at first for people to wrap their brain around, like, why would I create this? Why would someone in a third world country create that? And I could go on and on about my beliefs on that stuff, and I'm sure you could too. But the premise is like, it's not up to us to decide why anybody else creates whatever they create, but it is for us to decide to take that power back ourselves and say, this is all for my greater good. This is all forward progress. I'm creating a life, and I have that choice to take those steps in power or to take those steps in fear, or, because it's what I've always done. But either way, I get to choose.
Yeah. You can choose love or fear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge. So, Course in Miracles talks about all minds are joined. So we have the individual consciousness, which is like you and I making our choices, but then there's the collective consciousness, which is like the world as a whole, and there's pockets of collective consciousness. So we create individually, but we also create collectively. So the world is the way it is because most of the world lives in fear. And so we create collectively because that's what we do. We're all creative beings. We're constantly creating. So most of the world lives in fear. Now, I would go out on a limb and say, for those of you watching this, you have some sort of vision for your life on how you want to help people and empower people. So the best thing you can do is trust that and start expressing it and stand in that and have conviction.
Yeah.
And voice yourself, right? Stand in your power and have a strong point of view with it, because God knows our world needs it.
Yes.
And our world needs your message.
And that visualization of that, like putting your focus and your attention on, like, how good can I let it get? That's what I talk about with my clients as we go through, I have a 6-month course. The end is really giving yourself permission of like, how good am I willing to let it get by really putting my attention on that, like that vision of what is possible.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. It's like power is a big thing. So I just want to say this quick because I know we started with power. You have to think of, in the context of power, first of all, where in your life do you feel like you don't have choice? Like if it's your feelings or your circumstances, where you feel stuck, like, oh, I don't have a choice. Like maybe it's, I don't have a choice with my family. I don't have a choice with my job. I don't have a choice with my spouse, or whatever the case is, because you do have a choice. And then where's your power going? If your power isn't going to your vision or to where you see your life going as far as your body and your health and how you want to impact the world, where is that energy? Where is that power going? Because it's going somewhere, but it's not going into your thing. So it's going into like, you're giving it away to like other people or circumstances. So hold on to that.
Yeah.
Because that's your gift. And as you do, you'll cultivate it, and then you'll be able to help more people and not deplete your own power.
Yes. And taking it back and saying like, okay, I right now can make a different decision. Like we make this, it's almost like, it's like you don't get stuck. You just keep making the same decision again and again and again. So if that's true, then you can choose to make a different decision today, tomorrow. You can make those baby steps. And that's where I think like what you're saying, and even like what each of us has created, like you make those baby steps, and in trust, in faith, in knowing that even if you don't know the whole path of how it's all gonna play out, right now as you tune in what the first step is.
Yeah. I think just so everyone knows, most of my life, I was so afraid to step into my power. And, I grew up in a family where we didn't really talk about emotions that much, as most people do. We didn't talk about our feelings. And I really suppressed myself down because I was always called too sensitive. Right. And so I really suppressed my voice. And I had to do a lot of work, and still do, on myself, for being able to feel comfortable to express myself and be heard on social media and be heard with my message. And, even before I got on this interview with you, I was nervous. I was like, oh guys, what do I need to say? And, do I need to say the right things? And I'm like, whoa, like, let me check in with myself here and see, one, I'm making it all about me. Two, I always ask myself, who do I want to be in a relationship to this person or to this experience? And I was like, oh, right. I want to be grateful. I want to celebrate this moment with Sheila. I want to celebrate this moment with everyone who's watching this interview, and just be here with you and celebrate.
Yeah.
And we can shift it anytime. We have choice.
Yes. And thank you for sharing that too, because I think when people watch these types of things, they think, oh, well, they're experts, so they have it all figured out and they don't have any sort of fears or things. And I think that's so not true. Like, I have fears too. I totally have, those things that come up that I have to work through myself as I get to those higher and higher levels, or expand in whatever ways I am. So I think it's good. And that's what I wanted to share with this interview series, is our humanness, because we're all imperfectly perfect, just doing the best we can. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
it's so true.
100%.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so, I mean, I know we could keep going, and I feel like, again, it's just so much fun to have these conversations where we just riff on this stuff. And so I want to make sure people have a way to take this further with you. If they want to continue this discussion, if they want to work with you, how should they get in touch with you? And I know you also have a free gift that you're offering as well.
I do. Yeah. So you can go to my site. It's ryanyokome.com. And I think you also will put a link or somewhere where we can go. So yeah, what I'm going to give you guys, it's my 7-day spiritual money flow course. And so it's really cool. So you go through a process 7 days, you've got to opt in, and then you get email access. So every day you'll have an email sent to you that will have a training video. It will also have an affirmation to support you. And it will also have oh my gosh, I totally just blanked out. Something else. That's amazing.
A super surprise.
Yeah, super surprise. It'll come back to me after. Anyways, it's an amazing course that we put together. And so it really focuses on helping you on where you're stuck. So everything we talked about, like emotionally, where you might feel stuck around your image, self-image, receiving money. And then you go through this process of doing some work around releasing. And then you move into the space of like really stepping into your authentic power, and how you can start to stand in a space of receiving money and giving value and sharing your message, and be in more of a space of money flow than deflecting money. I can't remember the other thing. It'll come to me. It'll be in the link below. We'll see it.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Meditations. That's what it was. It's 7 videos, 7 meditations, and 7 affirmations.
I love it. That's so good though. And that's exactly, again, what we need. It's like, it's those action steps that really kind of are what you need to tune in and take less action and have more allowing, really, allow things, receive it. And so thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And I know people are going to get so much value from this interview. And I have so much appreciation for you, Ryan.
Yeah, it's my honor. It's such a privilege. And thank you. I could talk to you forever.
It was fun. We were all over the place, but I feel like it's like, no, every single thing makes sense. It all kind of comes together and the message is there. So hopefully it's received. All right. Well, take care, and I will see everyone on the next interview.